university, as Luke said, but it's really nice to be here today to talk about something that I did in my spare time and kind of away from my professional life. So I'm going to talk to you about a trip that I made in February this year. I remember it was February because it was very cold, where I managed to go to 7 countries in 7 days. And I think this kind of ties into what Gary was talking about, Sir Gary was talking about, with just that kind of aspect of fun that you should have with languages and with kind of different languages, different cultures and things. So I'm just going to kind of take you through a little bit about what I did and also the reasons that I did it. It wasn't deliberate. It kind of just happened because I had some kind of vague plans of what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go, and then it just turned out that I had to go through quite a few other countries to get to where I needed to be. So I've got friends all over the world. As a result of studying languages at university, I studied Russian and French and Spanish at university for different amounts of time. And so I have friends all over the world and quite a few friends based in Europe. So I have a couple of friends in Europe who I wanted to go and visit. I was also kind of feeling a bit like life is getting a little bit humdrum. And I think because I studied languages at university and because I was used to kind of travelling quite a lot and things, being a professional adult, and having a full-time job and everything. I mean, I love my job, but also it's nice to kind of live a life less ordinary sometimes. I love the strapline of stand out in the global market. Also, I was really struck by the ease of travel within Europe. I travelled quite a lot within Europe and across the world in different countries, and I think that we're really fortunate to, at the moment, be European Union citizens. And so I just wanted to kind of make the most of that. And kind of feed my curiosity for different languages and cultures. Also, I kind of put often the journey above the destination in terms of when I'm travelling somewhere, the journey and how I'm getting there is one of the biggest parts of the experience. And I'm kind of going to look for adventure, which I definitely had on this trip. So I travelled, it was only 7 days, and it was just, I literally took like 7 days annual leave out of work. But I did quite a lot of, I'm going to show you the route in a little while. Travelled on planes, trains, buses, taxis, and I think there was a car as well. I used Skyscanner. Skyscanner, when I was in my final year at university, became one of my most frequently visited pages on my Internet Explorer tab. And used the internet a lot to find the route that I'm going to show you in a moment. And there was a bit of, as I put there, old-fashioned winging it, just kind of finding my way as I went. And that's the kind of the time when I'm travelling that I find most exciting, is when I haven't really planned something, but stuff just sort of falls into place and happens as I go along. I'm going to show you the route now. The total I spent was £200 in total for all transport. So that includes flights and all of your kind of transfers in between. So, the route. Started at Manchester, so not so glamorous, and I flew into Copenhagen in Denmark, and then from Copenhagen went straight through to Sweden. So when I say 7 countries in 7 days, I'm not saying that I spent a huge amount of time in all the countries. It's not like I spent 1 day in each of the countries or anything, but I just was in those countries for a certain amount of time. So I went straight through to Sweden to a place in the south of Sweden called Malmö, and was there for about 10 hours probably, and got on a flight down to a place in the south of Serbia called Niš. And the reason that I did that route was because I found flights. Basically, my kind of final, my halfway destination for this trip was Kosovo. I was going to see a friend in Kosovo, visiting there. And I kind of wanted to not spend too much on flights, and so found this route using Skyscanner and various other internet kind of platforms to find a really, really cheap route. So my flight from Manchester to Serbia was kind of everything included was about £50 or £60, which is amazing. I think this is one of the things that we're so fortunate to be able to do travelling in Europe. So it's so easy to travel and so cheap as well. It means that travel isn't a barrier. Finance or money doesn't have to be a barrier to travel. I then, I won't go into the details, but I got a taxi to Kosovo from Serbia. If you know anything about the history of the Balkans, some of the older people in the room might, probably do know about the history of the Balkans. But Kosovo is an area that's kind of a contentious area. It's now recognised as a country by most countries in Europe, but not by Serbia. And so Serbians aren't very happy about travelling across the border into Kosovo. So it took me a little while to get there, but I did make it. And then I spent a fantastic few days in Kosovo. Then got a bus into Macedonia, and then my kind of final destination for the whole trip was Warsaw in Poland, but I had to go via Germany to get there because it was cheaper. So I took an afternoon plane. So this is the kind of route that I took. So you can just, I'll let you look at that quickly. And then I ended up in London after a couple of days in Warsaw. So just a few kind of points. I really loved the kind of border crossing experience, and obviously going to 7 countries in 7 days, I crossed quite a few borders in the process, and it was always slightly different. This is the train station in Copenhagen Airport, where you get on the train to go straight through to Sweden. You can get to most kind of transport hubs in Sweden from Copenhagen Airport. And you can't really see it, but quite faintly, you can see a sort of fence just between the two tracks. And that was erected, I think, about a week or two before I was there. It was because of the refugee crisis that Sweden experienced. And there were lots of refugees coming into Copenhagen, into Denmark, and hoping to get through into Sweden. And I found that quite sobering, just kind of realising I'm so fortunate to be able to use this passport that I have to travel between these countries. But these people don't have that kind of ability. So I found that quite sobering. So I put that picture up. This is Pristina, a beautiful city. It's the capital of Kosovo. This is a picture that I took from the top of a cathedral. And then I went out to the countryside in Kosovo as well, which is absolutely stunning. And this is a village called Orlan, where my family live. Flying visit through Macedonia to Skopje, which is the capital of Macedonia. Because I loved it so much, I did a little bit of kind of window shopping whilst I was travelling around, and loved Kosovo and loved Macedonia so much also. But kind of as I travelled through, I thought I need to visit these places, so I went back and did another trip. And so these are actually pictures that I took in the summer, so I won't that one. So this is Lake Orange, which is Macedonia, absolutely stunning. One thing is that this year I didn't realise this until later on in the year, but I've actually swam this year in 3 lakes that begin with the letter O. I think that's so I swam in Orlan Lake, Orange Lake, and then I went to Ontario in Canada as well. I spent a lovely afternoon in Cologne in Germany. Has anyone been to Cologne? It's a really beautiful city. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice and easy to get to. Really accessible from the airport. It took about 20 minutes to get from the airport to the city centre. Tried out a bit of German, not very well. And then spent a couple of days in Warsaw at the airport and actually met up with a friend that I met when I was living in Russia a little bit earlier. So yeah, it was incredible. And one of the reasons that I love this type of trip, and the reason that I enjoyed it so much is because I love languages. And my job is centred around languages, and I guess a lot of us here are passionate about languages or learning languages in some way. I really kind of relished the opportunity to try out lots of different languages. I got this phrase book from Amazon that cost about 2p, with like £2 postage as well. And tried out all of those languages mentioned at least once or twice on the trip. It wasn't like obviously huge great conversations, but just asking for directions, finding out where the airport bus stop was, and just kind of getting along as you do. And I really enjoyed just kind of using, like Gary was mentioning, the kind of skills that you have in one language and applying that to other languages that you might learn. So, for example, Macedonian, the alphabet's the same as Russian, and because I learned Russian at university, I was able to kind of access Macedonian a lot better than people who haven't learned Russian would. So the language kind of element of it for me was really, really important. For anyone that's thinking about this type of trip, I would definitely recommend maybe exploring it. At your age, I think not going by yourself is probably an important tip. But maybe when you get a little bit older, if you want to go and explore, that's great. A lot of students I know have kind of gone on to do trips like at the end of A level, or maybe at the end of their first year of university, and just spend the summer doing like interrail and things like that, which are really easy ways to explore Europe. Just a few tips in terms of doing this type of, I guess, quick sort of whirlwind trip of Europe. I definitely suggest learning a little bit of each language. That phrase book was amazing. It just had sort of key phrases that you need to know. in any sort of situation that you might find yourself in as you're just travelling through a country. I saved money by only packing hand luggage, so it meant I didn't have to pay for whole luggage. You know, companies like Ryanair and EasyJet make you pay extra if you want to put luggage in the hold, but you don't have to do that. I just use hand luggage, so that's a really easy way to save lots of money. I would say make plans, but make sure they're kind of they're adaptable. You can change, so they're fluid. And so there are a couple of situations that I got myself into where I had to kind of not follow the plan that I've made, but be a bit more imaginative with the way I was going to get places, particularly out in Glasgow, so earlier order. And also make an adventure out of it if it goes wrong. I think that's one of the. I think people would say generally when things go wrong or when you make a mistake in life, that's naturally some of the most memorable things in life, and things that you learn lessons from those. So definitely make an adventure of it. Don't kind of panic and think that that's the whole definitely know your politics. I knew a little bit about I mentioned about the Kosovo-Serbia kind of tension. I knew a little bit about that when I went, but I didn't know how much it could affect my journey, and it did affect my journey. So if you're going to places where there are some kind of contentious political situations going on, then just be aware of that. And make sure it's just going in with your eyes open and knowing kind of who you're going to be meeting and how they might react to you, or how they might react to kind of references to other people around them, or other nations around them. I've put here about taking photos and tweeting. Actually, if you search 7 countries, 7 days, or that should be 7 days, and if you search hashtag 7 countries, 7 days, there's quite a few people that have done a similar trip where they've done 7 countries in 7 days and just different routes and things. So you can get some inspiration from that on Twitter. Also, travelling in any sense is quite exhausting, and I was absolutely exhausted when I got back at the end of the week. So I definitely suggest taking time to chill out a bit, have a couple of afternoons at least where you're relaxing, and you're not kind of rushing for the next train or rushing to make check-in for a flight or whatever. For me, that was definitely the afternoon that I spent in Cologne. I walked along the Rhine River, went to the Chocolate Museum in Cologne, definitely recommended it, and I really enjoyed that. So that was a really important kind of recharging time before I made the rest of my trip. And since I've come back, I've discovered there's loads of people that do this kind of thing, and there's lots of blogs and Twitter feeds and things. So if you feel inspired after this talk or after the whole of today to do a trip like this or go abroad and experience maybe just Europe in the country in Europe for a short period of time, then there's heaps of inspiration out there in blogs and on Twitter and things. Yeah, so just a couple of kind of recommended sites. Airbnb.co.uk is incredible. Airbnb is kind of international, you've probably heard of it, it's a bit like Couchsurfing or something, which I used when I stayed in a couple of places. And skyscanner.net have myself as one of my most frequently visited pages, like university. It shouldn't be because I shouldn't be studying, but it meant that I just kind of became familiar with ways to find the best flights, the best deals, and things like that to make this kind of trip possible. So it was 7 days. It wasn't a massive long trip. I didn't have to take and to leave my job to go and do this, but it was just a really, really fun thing to do, allowing me to experience a number of different cultures, albeit for a short amount of time, to maybe do a bit of window shopping to see if there are places that I'd like to go back to in the future. And as I mentioned in Macedonia, I did go back for a longer amount of time later in the year. And also just I think just growing your appreciation of where we're situated in the world, where we're situated in Europe, and just the freedom that we do have at the moment to travel in Europe. So I definitely urge you to make the most of that. Thank you.